Hello again, listeners. Once more indulge us while we give thanks to some of our Patreon supporters. First, pay your respects to the Keeper of the Blade, the aptly named Kyros Inexperienced Knife Wielder Wolf. For your generosity and dedication, the Cult of the Apocalypse is indebted to you. Thanks also to these Heralds of the Apocalypse: Iron Maze, George H., Alex Carroll, Jonathan Trail, and Henning Lubers. And now, with our ceremony complete, let's see what our investigators are getting up to in the kitchen.
Questa è Radio Rosso Bologna. Non so voi, ma io sono caldo come le polpette piccante di mamma. È giunto il momento della nostra storia della settimana e oggi...
Tonight I will share with you my family recipe, and then tomorrow we will learn how to cook it.
I feel like there's something about this place, this time, this radical movement that we find ourselves in amongst.
This dog.
What about his dog?
You lost your dog.
Tontu.
I too have been brought here by a death.
Of course, you are here during the Feast of the Ascension.
Sorry, I just suddenly need the toilet. I'm very old.
He's known as Sol Beckman. He's a notorious London hitman.
Put yourself together. It's not real, it's not real. It's not real.
We are still finding out what secrets the old home holds. You hear some commotion in the street in the night.
Are they coming down to join us soon?
No, they've left us.
Oh!
The Apocalypse Players present Il Portico di San Luca, a Call of Cthulhu Scenario by Dan Wheeler, with Dominic Allen as Robert Hyde, retired chemist, Joseph Chance as Nicholas DeVere, theatre critic, perennial guest star Jeany Spark as Sharon Clifford, widowed housewife, and Dan Wheeler as your keeper of arcane lore. Part 2. A spot of sightseeing.
So, Niccolo takes you all through into the kitchen, which you've sort of seen. It hasn't been hidden. You've glimpsed through the door. And it's a lovely sort of old, exactly as you would picture an Italian family kitchen. Lots of tiles, loads of steel pans hanging up from hooks, and he's got chopping boards all laid out around this sort of central island, enough for each of you. And he has some ingredients in the middle, and he says, so this morning I am going to teach you how to make my family's recipe for ragu. We are going to make the pasta, and we're going to make the ragu. And you notice at this point that Niccolo's mother has followed through into the room, and she takes up, there's a seat in the corner of the room, just like there was in the other room, and she just walks over and sits in it. And he says, now, so you know I'm not tricking you or pulling the wool over your eyes. My mother will always watch me, so to check that the recipe I teach you is the recipe she taught me. And you look over at her, and she's got this sort of, almost like an expressionless face, and you still haven't heard her say a word. And he begins talking you through his ragu recipe, and he says it's very simple. It's not too many ingredients. We have celery, onion, carrot to make a sort of sofrito, and then the meats, 2 different types of meat, and he sort of indicates them 2 piles of minced meat on the table, and he says, and yes, as you correctly inferred last night, I think it was you, wasn't it? Was it you, Robert, who said there's milk?
The milk, yes.
Oh, yes.
We do use a small amount of milk. And he sort of weighs out the ingredients and talks about how much of each. And he says, I will chop it how I do, and you can see the size that chop the vegetables. You can watch the amounts, and but we don't have to make the same dish 7 times, 6 times. So you would make a little bit and we all put it in the pot together, and it's a meal we've made together. We share it. But any questions while we cook?
No, not really. Just dying to give it a try, I suppose. Very community theatre. Love it.
Yes. Well, it's more or less the recipe you ate last night. But actually what we will do with it today, we will make a lasagna. So we will use the same ragu, but we will layer it up. And this is a family recipe. It is 7 layers of pasta. 7 layers for the 7 chiesi. I told you we're a superstitious people and numbers mean a lot to us. So 7 layers for the 7 churches.
And did the recipe... Could you ask your mother where she got this recipe from? Was that from her mother, or was it another family member?
Yes, it's been passed down through the family. Every family in Bologna has their own ragu recipe. They share a lot of, maybe it's a little bit of extra oregano, or maybe some families maybe don't use milk, or different the meats in different proportions.
Yes. Fascinating.
And as he says that, he sort of, his hands kind of almost massage these 2 differently coloured piles of mince on the table.
And what are these 2 different meats that are going into the ragu?
He looks at you with a wicked smile and says, "Ah, yes. What did Mrs. Lovett put in those pies?" And then laughs and says, "Oh, no, of course, this is pork and beef."
Not people?
No. That.
Oh, okay.
That was my joke about Mrs. Lovett.
No, yes. Oh, yes, no, I understood the reference.
Oh, good.
Yes.
What a relief.
It's a funny thing to say, that's all.
Yeah, well, maybe you'd all like to give me a psychology roll.
I was just trying to work out when Sondheim wrote...
Well, Mrs. Lovett predates Sondheim.
Oh, yeah.
But Sondheim, I think, wrote it just before this, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, I failed extraordinarily, so I might push it.
Psychology. Oh, my word.
I have got a roaring success of 6 on a 50.
Oh, I'll leave it.
Wow.
And I've got a 5.
Wow.
I'm ridiculous.
2 extreme successes.
Wow. Boom!
And Dom a fail. Not pushing.
I don't think... If they've got 2 extremes, I think I just roll my eyes and go, of course it's pork and beef. What else is it going to be?
Fair enough. With your extreme success, I think you're both aware of him being... Now, this sort of joke ended up going on a little bit longer than he intended it to.
Mm-hmm.
And he's embarrassed. I think mainly what you see is that he's embarrassed because he's a very amicable guy. He's actually very good at putting people at ease, and he thinks he's cocked this up. But because it's such a good success, you do notice that he glances across at his mother at this moment, almost looking for her approval, or you can't be quite certain what that look is. Maybe he's embarrassed that he's let her down or something, but there's something in this moment. There's a connection between them.
Okay.
And then the other thing, because it was such a good success, is no matter how brilliant a performer he is, no matter how much you think you can't believe everything he says, you believe he was absolutely genuine when he said, "This meat is pork and beef."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, of course, there was the Christopher Bond play. It was a few years ago now.
Yes.
About Sweeney Todd.
Yes.
And very witty, very witty.
Yes.
I wasn't expecting that sort of level from you.
Oh.
Niccolo. You're raising our game here. I'm not sure. Did you ever see that, Sharon? Did you see the Bond piece? I doubt it, but...
James Bond?
Sadly not.
Oh.
A marvellous performer, though. I do love Sean Connery. Wonderful. Such long, lovely legs.
He's ever so good, isn't he? He's ever so good.
Isn't he marvellous? Lost his way a bit, maybe since. But, well, of course, I do hear rumours that sometimes do you use donkey Not necessarily here in this household.
Oh, it's further north. Verona, very famous for donkey ragu.
Ah, that's why I'm mixing it up, you see.
Donkey? They eat donkey?
Yes?
Well, probably very tasty, though.
Oh, no, I wouldn't like to do that.
Like the French with their horses.
No, I wouldn't like to do that. I wouldn't.
Like the French with their horses. No, shocking business, really.
Horse is nice.
Well, obviously different cultures have different traditions, and tradition is important.
Yes.
After all, is there a difference between a donkey and a cow or a pig?
Yes, there is.
Or anything, really?
Or a zebra.
Yes.
Quite, or a zebra. I've never eaten zebra myself. I'm sure it's delicious.
Me neither, but, you know, they're very similar. If you painted a donkey black and white, it'd be hard to tell it isn't a zebra.
Yes, I expect so.
What would you call that?
Oh,
Zonky.
Deborah? Christ.
And I imagine that we've got individual stations that we work at.
Yeah.
And I pick up a piece of an ingredient, perhaps some of the meat, and I pick it. I just pick it up in my hand and I say, like the heart of a dog, and then I just put it back down, and I stare at my hand down on the table. And I say nothing.
Are you all right?
All right, Nicholas. Gone awful pale.
I'm so sorry. It's that bloody American author with his book, The Shinning. Terrible thing. I was reading more of it last night. It's absolutely gripping. Anyway. Shining. Sorry, Shining. Did I say Shinning?
Oh, my Martin's reading that. He loves all that horror stuff. I just think it's nonsense. Nothing like that ever really happens in real life, does it?
No, of course not.
No.
I hope not.
No, nothing like that ever happens in real life. And we should put all this together. And the most important ingredient in the ragu is thyme. And I don't mean the herb. I mean, we let it bubble away for hours, and we can start making the pasta.
Oh.
And he puts everything into the pot and puts it on the stove and sort of wipes down the surface and gets out some flour and some eggs. And you notice that Don and Julia they're kind of half paying attention and half enjoying each other's hands as they chop herbs and, enjoying it being a romantic moment. Anyway, he says, pasta, this is a very simple recipe. 1 egg to 100 grams of flour. It has to be the finest grind of flour. And each of you can do this. And he pours out 100 grams for each. Shows you how to make a little well in the middle of the pasta and demonstrates cracking an egg into the middle of the well. And he says, and takes up a fork and he starts dragging the flour into the egg. And he says, slowly, gradually, until it's all combined. And you will do this. And then he says, I think in England, they probably tell you can make this in a pasta machine and you roll it, like rolling clothes through a mangle, am I right?
I suppose so, yes.
I've seen those. I've not used one.
Well, we would never use that here. This is why, look at my mother, look at her arms. This is why she is so strong. 70 years of rolling out the pasta with a rolling pin. And you look across and take a look at his mother, and you don't notice anything particularly muscular about her arms. But you do start to notice there's something slightly unusual about her face. Anyway, as you sort of mold the pasta into a ball, and he sort of... Did you have a question?
When you say unusual about her face, I mean, is it because of the nature of her features?
Well, it's interesting that you should ask. I think...
Is it almost canine?
I think your obsession makes you feel there's something almost canine about her face.
I think I see it for the first time.
I think you do see it for the first time, that there's something... It's strange because you know that her look to other people might be really quite unpleasant. But to you, it's almost attractive. And you think about that saying about people, how people come to look like their dogs. And you wonder whether maybe she does have a dog somewhere.
Yeah.
A really ugly fucking dog.
I only looked on one side of the building, didn't I? I mean, there's a couple of other sides that I could could check, and I think I feel that urge. Maybe is there a window here? I'll fabricate a reason to cross over to a window.
Sure.
Hey, why you go to that window?
Oh, what? No, I'm so sorry. I just I thought I saw an Alsatian out there.
Yes? And maybe a police dog?
Oh, maybe. You did say there was some activity last night.
There was, but I don't think it's anything to worry about.
Must be difficult with long hair here in such lovely warm weather. I say, craning to look to see if there's any dogs out there.
Well, dogs don't sweat, do they?
Oh, very, very good point. But it's just that sort of sense of, I suppose it's the sympathy, isn't it? All that long hair.
Cats sweat. Think of that.
Anyway, have you all rolled out your dough?
Oh, yes, I must get back to my dough.
Sweaty little pussies.
So, 7 times we roll and fold, 7 times. Like I tell you.
Oh, it's that 7 again. Yeah, it's 7. Oh.
7 times for the 7 churches. Sette Chiesi.
Oh.
You know about the Sette Chiesi?
You talked about it last night.
Right here on the Piazza San Stefano.
Yeah.
The Basilica San Stefano is the oldest church in the whole of Bologna. It is built on, I believe the oldest bit of the church is Roman. I can't claim to be an expert in the history myself, but they say it is the oldest bit is Roman, and this, Don pipes up and says...
I'm looking at Don.
Yeah.
And says, yeah, it's older than that from what I understand. I think they built it on a temple, some kind of temple that predates even the Romans.
Who would they be then?
Yeah, what would that be?
Etruscans?
The what?
Possibly some kind of Egyptian, like an Egyptian cult, where a lot of that traveled up throughout the Mediterranean.
Oh, wow.
Fascinating.
I instinctively touched the dog-headed pendant on my chest. And I think you two definitely see me do that, because you know that I have it there.
And I see that he's cast a quick look to Niccolo's mother, so I look over and... Yeah, there is something strange about her face, but I can't quite put my finger on it.
I think maybe Niccolo sees you all paying attention to his mother, and as he's rolling his pasta, he says, my mother I have to thank for everything we're doing with the house. She's told me all about the history and what it used to look like before it fell into disrepair, and she's guiding me through the restoration in a lot of ways, and we're trying to do sympathetic restoration and not just modernize everything. I hope you found your rooms comfortable last night.
Oh, I slept like a log, I have to say. I haven't slept like that in ages.
Lovely room, lovely room.
That's fantastic. But the house is very old. It goes back in my family for generations, further than actually we can tell. But it itself was, well, as you can see, the church is only across the way. All of these buildings were built on Roman foundations. And as we've been excavating the cellar, we found some, he turns to Don and says, if you're into archaeology, there is some, I believe, some evidence of Roman architecture right in the cellar of a building. I think it was built on Roman foundations. All of these were. But it's my mother that I have to thank for really showing me how to restore the building to what it originally was.
So, sorry, you say you're excavating your basement?
Yes.
Do you do that yourself, or do you have to get like archaeologists in? And...
Oh, no, we have some help, but no, we don't have to. The thing is, the whole of Bologna is an archaeological site, the Centro Storico. This is the thing. This is the thing about our current government that I was telling you about. And he pauses and sort of puts his dough aside and says, Mussolini, and he then like pauses and looks over at his mother and says, in the past, a certain Italian governments have had a policy of, they used to say they were disemboweling the cities to make room for the population that was moving from the countryside. Italy has urbanized very, very quickly. I don't mean to give you a history lesson, but basically...
Fascinating.
The developers, backed by, I have to say, the mafia, in a lot of cases, have really been trying to tear down all these buildings and just shoot up skyscrapers. But our government, thankfully, have protected the Centro Storico, and all these buildings, no matter whether they are a church or a museum or just a simple house, they have encouraged them to be preserved. And the people who live in them are the people who have lived in them for centuries. And this gives us an ownership over our city and it means the whole city is an archaeological site, of course, as you imply, but it is our house and we have the responsibility to preserve it, but also to excavate and explore. And
So what have you found?
But aren't you worried if you lack the expertise, you might, accidentally break some old Roman pot that might be worth a bit of bob or do some structural damage? I mean, I wouldn't know where to begin excavating a basement, I'll be honest.
Oh, no, well, we work very carefully and we're very delicate, and I'm not down there with a shovel digging out earth. It's more just opening up old doors that maybe have been closed for a long time or unbricking passageways.
What?
What have you... passageways? What have you found?
Well, it's just a much older building and a more extensive building than perhaps we knew beforehand.
Do you mean like there's tunnels? Passageways, you said?
No, I'm not sure there are any tunnels. But, well, we haven't finished the excavation. Anyway, have you all...
You don't mind sorry, after we've done here...
Yes.
You don't mind at some point if we have a look, do you? Sounds fascinating.
Love to see it, yeah.
Well...
I'd like to study Robert Hyde more carefully when he says that, as I'm deliberately holding off from conversing. But his face, he did this thing where his head went backwards. I don't think he was even aware, and his eyes were widening just then, and I can't help but think that might mean something about why Robert Hyde cares about such things.
What are you hiding, Mr. Hyde?
Well, I guess maybe a psychology roll.
It's a 49 on a 60.
So, regular success. Robert, how much does Nicholas infer with that regular success?
I think you get the sense that he was just making conversation about the archaeology.
Yeah.
And is perhaps a bit suspicious of this Niccolo guy and what they're doing down there, because it doesn't sound legit. But the suggestion that there are unopened doors and passageways sparks his interest in a way that you don't think is architectural.
Yeah.
How's that?
Very excellent.
Nice. And Niccolo says, "Oh, well, I could maybe take you down and show you a few things, maybe another time. But it's, as you say, it is an archaeological site to a certain degree, so it's not necessarily safe. And as I mentioned before, I'm very proud of the work we've done at the top of the house to restore the rooms to their former glory. And it's maybe next time you come in a few years, I'll be able to show you, and it will be more appropriate."
Well, if you don't mind just having a peek, that would be wonderful.
Yes, maybe I could...
I think I've made a terrible mess here I've got some lumps in my rollout.
Oh, keep rolling.
Just keep rolling. Is that put your back in? That's how you get those lovely, wonderfully strong arms.
You need to work on your upper body strength.
Well, I'm more of a sort of, long-distance swimmer these days.
Yeah, he looks over at his mother and says, "Listen, if you would like to have a look at the house, let me have a tidy up this afternoon while you're out looking around the city. Make sure that there's nothing lying around that you could injure yourself on. And sure, I will give you a little tour of... I'd be very proud to show you the work we have done, but if you would allow me to make it safe first, I think that would be the best course of action."
Very reasonable, thank you.
Very kind.
Thank you.
No, it would be my pleasure. And Don says, "Say, if you're interested in looking at Roman mosaics and things like that, then I tell you, we should just go straight over to the Basilica San Stefano right after lunch, as soon as we finish here."
Yeah, let's have a look at those mosaics, sure, why not?
That sounds great. Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
First on my list, Donald. First on my list.
And Niccolo says, that would be a very good place for you to look first. And we're nearly finished here. Let's have a look at your pasta. And he sort of inspects your work and gives you a few pointers. Says, remember, 7 falls, 7 times.
For the 7 churches.
For the 7 churches.
Ah!
Like a lucky ritual.
Exactly. And he sort of, yeah. So just checking my notes.
Joseph wants to roll writing game scenario. Do I have that?
The English literature? Probably not.
Probably not.
So
Probably is nowadays.
Probably is nowadays, lads, ladies.
probably do a module on it.
Not too late, Jeany.
So he checks your pasta. He hangs it all over a sort of pasta rack.
Clothes horse.
Pasta rack.
Clothes horse, yeah, quite. And he sort of looks at his watch and he says, "This has been an excellent first lesson. I'm really pleased. I hope you are. And if you come back, I think maybe the best thing to do today. Sorry, I'm playing it a little bit. How do you say? I play it with my ear, right?
Oh, play it by ear. That's it. Yes, that's it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Play it by ear. I play it by ear. So maybe if we take a break now and you can explore the city, come back a bit early, and we will make the cheese sauce that goes in the lasagna, and we will layer up the lasagna together, and before tonight. But why don't you enjoy the afternoon? It looks like it's going to be a beautiful day today.
Well, that's wonderful. Yes, thank you.
Oh, grazie.
Grazie mille.
Grazie mille. That was a wonderful lesson, Niccolo. Thank you.
Oh no, my pleasure. Thank you.
So simple, so elegant. To think that it's just egg and flour, and yet, Marks and Spencer's make such a fuss.
So he sort of releases you out of the kitchen, and the world is your oyster for a bit. And Don and Julia tear themselves away from each other, and you all sort of wash your hands and find yourselves in the sort of foyer area of the house.
I think I immediately go over to the two of them as soon as I can, because I'm in terrible gossip, and I say, "So Barbara left, eh? I don't think Crystal had much say in it, did she?" But to both of you.
It does seem a bit strange to leave in the middle of the night. I mean, I was awake fairly early because of all the commotion in the street, so I was awake at about 5, I think, on and off, and
I was tossing and turning thinking about the past, Sharon.
I didn't hear anyone leaving then.
Coach and Horses. I used to drink at the Coach and Horses, I say, slightly too loudly. Yes.
What, the Coach and Horses?
Yes, just up from, Bethnal Green.
I know it, Julia says. I know it. It's got a terrible reputation.
I give her what can only be described as the De Vere stare. For just 1 second.
The De Vere sneer, surely.
The De Vere sneer.
The De Vere sneer.
It was a gift. Why did I duck that, Dom? Cut that. I give her what can only be described as the De Vere sneer. TM Dominic Allen.
Isn't it full of mobsters, that place? I heard the Crays used to drink in there.
No, that's all just a rumour. I did meet Ronnie's cousin there.
Oh, goodness.
Yes, charming fellow, absolutely charming. Sometimes I think that I've got a book in me about it, you know. I write for The Scoop.
Yeah, I don't know it. The Scoop?
Oh, no, nobody does. Terrible rag, but they pay me, and that's the important thing. So I write wonderful reviews about theatre. Most often in London, sometimes up in Stoke as well. There's a whole thing about the provinces. Anyway.
You write wonderful review. You mean your writing is wonderful, or you make sure that the reviews are always 5-star?
No, I'm terribly good at writing. Gosh, no, it's absolute crap, most of it. Some of it's all right.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of enthusiastic young people trying to act. Trying. But most importantly of all, I did meet him, and goodness me, there's nothing stranger than the truth.
Anyway,
are you going over to this San Stefano I'd love to go with you. Are both of you going? Perhaps we could all make the 5 of us. Perhaps the 5 of us could go.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
That's a lovely idea. Let's do it.
Let's, and I think he looks at his watch and says, maybe have time to go now before lunch and then find somewhere on the piazza or nearby to grab a bite to eat.
Oh, yes, Don. Oh, yes, Don.
Read our minds, I think. Used to be Crystal's providence, but you've taken over. Thank goodness you're here.
Such a sweet girl, Julia says.
Yes, what did she say to you? You were very much engaged last night. She was spot on about Tontu, my dog.
Oh, she was... Yeah, she knew some things about my past as well.
Really?
Remarkable.
Like what?
Well, maybe over lunch.
And she looks at Don and then says, perhaps another time. And he sort of holds her a little tighter.
You can't underestimate how much these sorts of people can glean from little cues and things people have said. There's a skill to it. It's an art. It's not magic.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there, Rob. It's a trick, really.
Yes. And sometimes I think they do it subconsciously. They don't even realise they're doing a trick, so they believe it themselves, which gives credence to the trick.
Yeah.
That sort of thing's infectious.
I think it can be. Anyway, I'm more interested in earth and stone and things you can touch.
Me too.
No, my Brian was that way. He was a builder. He was the same.
Oh.
He liked things you can make with your hands and touch. Yeah.
How interesting that we find ourselves here, Sharon. You, the widow of a builder, myself, amateur archaeologist, in this city, and staying at the house of a Fabry.
A Fabry?
That surname. It means fabricator, artisan, or builder. Yeah.
Oh, like fabricating. Oh, of course it does. Of course it does.
Yeah.
That is a coincidence.
And there he is, digging away in his basement.
It's a strange.
Anyway, shall we? We can see it out the door.
Yes, yes.
And he sort of takes the lead, I think, and strides out across the piazza. And it really is just sort of across the piazza. And you enter through the front door of this complex of churches. The main door opens into a working church, really, and you pass down the nave, and he appears not to be very interested in that. And down the steps and past the little chapel, and then you turn into a much, much older sort of octagonal structure, which in the middle has a weird marble edifice in the middle. And he turns to you and says, this was modeled on the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, how charged.
Yeah, I thought so.
So, how old's this bit?
This bit? Check my brochure. This bit is 1500s.
Wow. Older than its hair and younger than its teeth, eh?
Quite. Through here is the Roman part. And he sort of leads you through into the next room, which is like a bear chamber.
Look at these bears.
A lot of them.
With like an altar in one corner, and it's really sort of rustic, like a rustic stone altar. And then there are some sort of bits cut out of the floor with like ropes around a glass, presumably showing older ruins below. And he immediately sort of scurries over and starts examining those.
There's a penitential humility to it, isn't there, Sharon?
It looks a bit like a butcher's, but there's no meat in it. Yeah, it's got your wash clean floor, got your slab.
How wonderfully you see the world.
Thank you.
And I think I stare at Sharon.
Thank you, Nicholas.
In a way that I've very rarely stared at a person. Maybe that is the De Vere stare rather than the De Vere sneer. And I say, how remarkable. And I don't say it about the chapel. I say it about her.
Oh, you all right, Nicholas? Yeah.
Oh, fine. Yes, sorry.
It came over a bit funny then.
Yes. Well, eccentric. Some people say that I'm eccentric, darling.
So what do you think this bit was used for?
Oh, well, that could be private prayer, maybe? Or, I don't know, oration? Some sort of area for devotions? But we're talking early Christian here, so, It'll have been when they converted, you see?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And what's he looking at through the floor? Is that what's that? Is that like an older bit down there?
Don, what is that down there?
This is Roman. This is mosaic.
Oh, I'd love to see that. Let's have a look. She totters over, has a look down the hole.
Sure, you can't really make much out.
I'm just going to get a bit closer to you, Don, just so I can look over your shoulder. Just get just a little bit closer. Oh, yeah, that'll do it. Okay, there we go. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to touch your hand.
Who's looking at this mosaic? I missed something, but we'll come back to that. I don't know who's looking at the mosaic.
Sharon's having a look.
Fine, so Sharon's taking a really close look.
I'll drift... I was going to drift over towards Robert and see if he was interested in the mosaic, since Sharon's having a close look. Is there room for all of us to do it?
Probably not all at the same time, no.
Yeah, so I was sort of taking my turn, but I was going to drift over to Robert and say, mosaic, Robert.
If you like that sort of thing.
So Sharon's looking over Don's shoulder, and Don sort of turns to you and smiles his winning smile and says, "What do you make of that?" And points at the sort of images in the mosaic.
What do we see?
7 dogs.
Do you see
7 bits of pasta.
It looks like a couple of people sat around a table feasting upon another person lying on a table. But it's very old and it's sort of hard to make out. It might not be that, but that's what you first think when you see it. And that's where he gives you this sort of smile and says, "What do you make of that?"
Is that what it looks like, Don?
Well, what does it look like to you?
Well, it looks like they're eating that poor fella.
Yeah.
Now I understand Nicolo's Mrs. Lovett gag a bit better.
His joke, yeah. It's I think, well, this is...
Are they eating him? Why are they eating him?
I expect it's some kind of parable.
There's something not right about that.
Well, Jesus had you eat his body and drink his blood, didn't he?
Come and have a look at this. Come and have a look, Mr. Hyde. Mr. DeVere, come and have a look at this.
Oh, I see.
This is very unsettling.
Oh.
She stands back and gives them room to have a look in.
I squeeze in between you all, stick my head over.
Now, what does that look like to you?
Well, that's a version of the Last Supper, I suppose, depending on one's perspective.
It's a bit literal.
Yeah, but this is Roman. I'm not sure why they would be... Well, I suppose it might be...
No, it's all the same, isn't it? Sun gods and all that rubbish. Dying, coming back to life, that's as old as the hills. They're not the first people to do it, for goodness sake.
Well, and they, supposedly this is, as I say, built on an Egyptian site.
Yeah, well, there you go. I rest my case.
What, where they ate people?
What was it, Akhenaten, was it? The sun god and all that stuff? That's the same stuff as Christianity, isn't it?
Some would say.
Well, I'd say, yeah.
I've done a bit of reading. Can I roll my archaeology?
Yeah.
Since I've spent all those points in it.
Yeah.
By all those points, I do mean 29, guys. Which means that I have 30 points in archaeology. Oh, well, it's that happy time, guys. It had to happen.
You're going to get in the hole and push the roll?
Get in your hole, push the roll.
It's not 100, but it is a fumble.
It's a fumble.
It's a fumble. It's a 96. It's a 96.
Sounds like you're going to fall in.
I'm disappointed, guys. I'm disappointed because I thought, let's put some points in archaeology because I'm a certain kind of person. It's gutting. It's gutting, isn't it, when you play to the game? Yeah, so 96, that's a fumble. So I lean over and I have a good look and I think...
And I think you lean over and you have a good look and you see exactly what they've seen. But it doesn't really mean anything to you. So you maybe take a wander back into the previous room and have a look at that marble sepulchre.
Yes.
With this conversation about, Christianity, ancient Egyptian religions, it's all the same. Maybe something about your own sort of sensibilities telling you, well, that's not true. That's not true. I don't know whether you're a practicing Christian, but certainly you're at least Christian with a small c.
Yeah, he's not, but he's certainly a small c Christian.
So you think, well, I'll go back to that edifice that's been built in imitation of the Holy Sepulchre, and you realise for the first time that it's just sort of, it's not a huge thing, but it's surrounded with gargoyles. The marble structure. And the gargoyles have incredibly canine faces.
Yes, they do, don't they?
Oh, God.
I think I'm staring at them.
You're staring deeply at them.
Fascinated.
Yeah.
I think I get my notepad and pen out, but I don't actually make any notes. I'm just stood there, slightly open-mouthed, gaping at them.
Yeah.
The De Vere gape.
And as you're staring at them, I think you hear a sort of... coming from... Is it from one of the mouths, or is it from within the sepulchre?
Yeah, maybe the sepulchre.
Was it Tontu?
I think I look from the sepulchre to the statue, and then back to the sepulchre again. I look around me, but glazed eyes, only to see if either really Sharon or Robert are there. And if neither of them is directly there, I'll just go over to the sepulchre and put my ear against it to listen, see if I can hear.
And you can hear it again. And you can crawl inside this thing. If you get down low enough and crawl on your hands and knees, you can crawl right inside.
Oh no. Crawl inside, crawl inside, crawl inside.
Is anyone else around? Is anyone else around?
Not at the moment.
Then in which case I will. I'll try and get down in there and see. And I think I'll whisper. I'll say, "Tontu, darling, is that you? Sweetheart?"
No answer.
"Sweetheart? Tonti, tonti, tonti?"
Nothing.
"Tutu?" and I instinctively put my hand in my pocket, but all the treats have gone. They're not there. Because I had to have that moment 2 months ago where I took them out. Because they were starting to stink. And I remember that my flat was just a mess. Because I was a mess for that first month. I was a wreck. It was grief, but it was bereavement. It was bereavement. I lost the focus. And then I feel that emptiness. And then I'll climb in there.
You climb in. So you sort of crawl through this opening in this marble thing, and you realise once you've crawled through, you can stand upright inside. And there's carvings on all four walls inside. And as you take a look...
I do have a lighter, so I could...
Yeah.
Of course I'm a smoker. It's 1977.
Yeah. As you take a look, you see more of these sort of dog carvings. Well, you think they're dogs, but they look like kind of like your necklace, like people with faces of dogs. That's sort of what it looks like to you. And we've never seen anything like this in Christian faith before.
I think I do in that way that sometimes you have to, even though you know it so well. I take the little idol out and I look at it next to and although they're obviously not the same, there's a definite crossover. There's this imitation of the Anubis Egyptian echo, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And I tuck it back behind the cravat, and I realise how hot I am. I'm really warm and sweaty. And I say to myself, good God, I wonder. And I'll make my way back out.
And I wonder if this whole experience maybe warrants a sanity roll.
Oh, well, perhaps I'm being too sane in relation. That's my intention.
No, I think that's...
As I'm looking at the two...
Well, let's find out.
The two images of the dog and the statue. I think I must say that, and I say to myself, good God, I wonder. Oh, and yeah, I mean, I have passed my sanity, 44 on my 68, quite a high sanity, even on some losses.
I think that's... You're fine then, no sanity loss, but that certainly was a strange experience.
No, but I think I'm sweating quite profusely, and I get out, and I put this light summer jacket on, and I have to take it off, and I sort of wipe the dust away from my brow, and I'm a little discombobulated and maybe a bit slow and clumsy getting out, and I don't know what the other two have been up to, but...
Well, back in the room, Don stopped looking at this mosaic, and he's moved over to the altar in the corner, and he's sort of looking at it and mumbling and saying, "This looks like it's been flipped on its top. This is an old pagan altar. They've repurposed." I don't know whether the other two have a look.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll have a look.
Could you both give me a spot hidden?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, no, that's a 42 on a 35.
It's an 86 on a 45.
They're both fails.
Yeah.
Fine. So you kind of take Don at face value that this is clearly some sort of pagan altar that's been repurposed.
I think I say to him, is that a very common thing to do?
Well, in an early Christian church, then yeah, they would they'd be repurposing old buildings, and yeah, it's certainly interesting. But
so, what is it about it that gives you the clue that that's what they've done?
Yeah, how can you tell?
Well, you can see the bottom is like the top. It's like a top. You can see there's like a tabletop, and you can see what he's pointing at, and you can see that it's not sort of legs with a top. It's the reverse.
Yes, but what I don't understand is why would they feel the need to do that? Why don't they just repurpose it as is?
Well, that's a good question. Superstition, I suppose. Maybe it was simply a bit run down, and they wanted a new slab of.
They couldn't get the blood out, maybe.
maybe.
Blood stains, they don't come out very easily, I'll tell you that.
They don't.
And he sort of takes a closer look at the stone slab and kind of runs his finger across it. And then says, yeah, I guess. And says, shall we? And sort of points to the doorway to the next chamber.
Why not? Avanti, as they say. Do as the Romans do, eh?
Sharon shudders a bit. A bit of a ghost walking over the grave moment for her. Yes, let's move on.
And he sort of leads you through into an open courtyard that has a well in the middle.
Where's Nicholas?
Yeah, where's Nicholas?
I don't know, I didn't see
I call back. Nicholas! Nicky, we're going through to the courtyard. Maybe you went to the toilet.
Mr. DeVere, can you hear us?
Do I hear?
I think by this point you probably do, yeah.
Oh, just coming.
I better go back and get him.
Oh, darling, I'm so sorry. I went back. Darlings, hello. Yes, I'm here.
Are you all right? You're covered in sweat, Mr. DeVere.
Oh, it was suddenly
Are you not feeling well?
Oh, no, I'm fine. What did I miss? I
fish in my pocket and take out a pill and say, would you like a Valium?
Ooh. My eyes gleam. I say, well, why not? I've got a bottle of water in here somewhere.
They're practically like paracetamols, really.
Marvellous, yes.
Because it's the 70s.
A good suggestion. Lunch is soon, isn't it? It is soon, lunch.
Yeah, we'll grab some lunch when we finish here. That's all right. That okay with you, Julia? And she says, oh yes, I'm already beginning to feel the heat. It's much hotter than you'd expect for May, isn't it?
Isn't it just, darling?
Yeah.
I tell you, this is a fascinating church. Don, do you know anything about the Egyptian no, sorry, not Egyptian, the Romano traditions of... Would there have been anybody, this sounds quite crazy, but anything to do with dogs?
Oh, no, not that I know of. Why'd you ask?
I was having a look at the sepulchre back there, and there seemed to be dogs in there as well as in that mosaic. And I just wondered if there was a connection that you'd know about. A sort of Roman dog god.
No, I can't say I do.
Gosh.
They like their wolves, didn't they? Romulus and Remus and all that.
Oh, good point, yes, well said.
Oh, that's true.
No, but sorry, you were going somewhere. I don't want to slow us up.
No, I was just going to go and take a look at this well.
Oh, lovely, I do like a well. I say, looking nervously around me.
And, this big old, sort of courtyard with a well right in the middle that he sort of strides up to and takes a look into it.
Is that a Roman well? Went to a nice boozer once in Lancashire somewhere. Lake District. Called a Roman well. Good boozer. Weird people.
No, this isn't a Roman well. This is later.
Oh.
Can you see the bottom?
I don't know. Let's take a look.
Should we drop a stone down?
And he jumps in.
No. Yeah, we could. And he reaches around in his he reaches around in his pocket for a coin, and says, "Shall I?"
Yes.
Oh, make a wish. No, don't.
Why ever not?
Sorry, I don't know why I said that.
And he holds it over, and do you all sort of lean over and listen?
Yes.
Yeah. Spot hidden to see if someone just suddenly runs away into a tunnel?
Okay.
No.
No? Okay.
I mean, is there anything that we can see?
It's pretty dark down there.
Yeah.
But, well, he drops it, and you hear, you wait and you count a few seconds as it falls, and it hits the bottom, and then you could be sure that you do hear, like a scuttle.
What's that?
Rats.
And he looks up and he says, "Rats, that's rats."
Sounded a bit... I mean, I know rats. It sounds a bit big for rats.
It did sound a bit big for rats. He doesn't say that.
It is Europe, although I'm terribly impressed with your ability to make that judgment. Stevenage, eh? Stevenage, yes.
Well, Brian's on building sites, rife with rats. You'd be surprised. All kinds.
And of course, in North America, they have raccoons.
No, I don't think I've seen a raccoon.
But the fact that I say it is that my eyes are sort of going slightly wide, and I'm obviously not saying what I'm thinking. I think I would give that for free to the two of you.
Does anyone want to give me a spot hidden?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, why not?
Heck yes.
Why not? Because, I mean...
I want to know what's down that well.
It's only going to be good for us, right?
Yeah. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, I've got so much sanity to burn.
Ooh.
What are our spot hiddens? Mine's 60. That's one of the best I've ever had for a character.
Mine's terrible. I failed.
45.
And I failed as well, 78.
I've had a jolly good success.
Oh, good. Well done, darling.
I've got a 14.
Fingers crossed, everyone.
So, you said it sounds a bit big for rats, and as you say that and you look back down the well, you can see on the sides of the well what look like sort of scratch claw marks that are much bigger than rats' claws. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's the size of a... When you say on the side, like, are they coming all the way to the top? Or are they way down? Could I touch them?
If you leant right in, you could probably touch them. They don't come right up over the edge, but the ones you see are like maybe an arm's reach away.
Okay, so I think Sharon reaches down with her hand and puts it next to the claw marks for scale and says, "Look, that's what... I don't know, like a big cat or a dog?"
A dog.
It's not a rat. I've never seen a rat that big.
And when you're leaning in like that, could you give me a listen roll?
Yeah. Pass. 33 on a 45.
You hear something from down the well, sort of maybe very quiet sort of gibbering sort of sound. Like yeah. You couldn't really place it.
Can anyone else hear that?
Careful there, darling, careful.
No, I can hear something down there.
But don't lean too far in, and I just put a gentle hand on your shoulder.
And that pushes me into the well.
No, it is very much the opposite of that energy. I want to be absolutely sure. What is it?
I can hear something, some sort of chatting or animal something. There's something down there.
I can't resist. I'll lean in. Yeah.
What, and have a listen? So this is effectively you pushing your roll, right? Because because it was only Jeany who was listening before. So yeah, that's fine.
I mean, I could take it as a push if you like.
No, that's fine. No, I'm wrong. It was only Jeany who was listening because she was already leaning in. So yeah, it's fine.
And she passed. You passed, didn't you?
She passed, yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
Fail.
It's a 63 and a 50.
I mean, this is a fun thing to push, isn't it? You're leaning into a well, see if you can hear some strange noise. What could possibly go wrong?
Who's gonna fall? Who's gonna fall? Who's gonna fall?
And I've got my hand on her shoulder.
Who's gonna fall?
And I'm leaning forward. I think you've got to push this, right? Because I've got this weird thing about the dog, right? And it's bigger than... And I'm thinking, if this is dogs, this changes everything. Because Tontu's dead, but Crystal thinks Tontu's alive. In a spiritual realm. And I've left that window open. And then there's a connection with a weirdness that has happened that I can't pin down, but I've got an idea of what it is. And if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would push it. But it feels like forces are converging on this moment in time for him. And he's picked up this weird book by Stephen King about trusting psychic instincts.
This is not reading Cujo.
No. No.
Right.
I could have chosen Falconer or Roots in the hotel. For not the hotel, sorry, the airport. For those of you who know your 1970s novels, which I didn't. That is a 29. So I've not pushed anyone down a well.
Great.
Perhaps slightly disappointingly, but I have passed my pushed roll.
Great. Well, you also hear this sort of chittering... It's very much not the sound that a dog would make. It's not a bark. It's a really horrible sound. You've never heard any animal make it. Just very faintly, and it sort of moves away.
Can you hear that?
Did you hear that?
Yes.
What was it?
Yeah, what was it?
It's horrible. I don't know how to describe it. Like a... Oh.
Rats don't make noise.
No.
A neighbour told me that.
But if they did, it might sound a bit like that. Sort of...
Yes.
Jabbering, wet, sort of horrible noise.
Would you like to both give me an intelligence roll?
Yes. I can't explain it, Robert. It sounded... Don. Oh, it's quite beyond my... It's quite beyond my understanding. If I wanted to put a name to it, I couldn't. With my 85 on my 75.
Oh dear. Jeany?
41 on an 80.
Okay, so you're sure what you've heard is some sort of animal, but it's not a rat, it's not a cat or a stray dog.
Or a bat.
It's nothing that should be down a well in a city. It's nothing you've ever heard before.
Deborah.
And I'd like you to give me a sanity roll.
That's a little too much understanding, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Fail. 84 on a 70.
Oh dear.
A little loss.
Could you just roll me a D2? So like a D4 and halve it.
1.
1. Okay. So 1 point of sanity.
Goodbye.
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 Never see that sanity again.
And at that moment, Julia says,
Oh, Don, I really need to get out of the sun. Could we maybe go and find somewhere for a cold drink in the shade or something?
getting a bit hot for me. And she looks up and you realise you are in a courtyard at this point underneath the sun, which is now kind of like midday or just past midday. And you realise you are in the baking heat of this open courtyard. And Don says, sure, we'll go and find a spot for lunch. It is hot. Maybe we should go and get a cool drink and get some lunch.
That's a good idea.
You know what they say?
It's as hot as a bus driver's trousers.
Exactly. Hot as a bus driver's trousers. And the other thing, of course, is mad dogs and Englishmen, eh?
Hot as what do they say? Hot as a Turk's mustache? They still say that?
I think they do still say that.
You can't say that in this day and age, my friend.
No, that's more of a sort of 40s expression.
Hot as a turtle's anus is one of the ones that I heard.
Oh, dear, Mr. DeVere.
Sorry, but it's what I heard.
Hot as a pelican's cloaca.
Oh, I need to get out of the sun as well. I'm not feeling so good.
So, you want to join us? We'll find somewhere together.
Oh, yes. It's as hot as an Ottoman's boudoir out here.
Sure is. Haven't heard that one in a while.
Yes, let's get out of the sun.
You want to join us? We can find a place under the arches there for a...
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that. I'm feeling a bit funny after that. Well, I could do the sit down and maybe a stiff drink.
Yes, it was quite unsettling.
I don't know whether we have to retrace our steps. And he starts sort of leading the way back. And you go past some sort of stone memorials to Second World War dead of Bologna. And then under this sort of archway with a couple of pillars topped with, again, very strange figures. These are human figures, but in sort of contorted. One looks like he's being crushed by a big millstone, and another looks like his head's on backwards. Very unusual things. But you make your way back through, exit the church, looking at a few more strange, slightly canine gargoyles on the way out, and sort of out into the piazza again. And Don says, "So, what kind of thing you want to eat?"
Oh well, I always like a little bit of seafood personally, but I suppose we're quite a long way away from the coast here.
Yeah, but I'm sure they get good stuff in. We'll go and have a look.
Does it upset you, Sharon?
Oh, I just think I like something plain, really. Some plain food, just for the moment, and then maybe something a bit more sort of exotic after that.
Well, maybe an osteria somewhere near here. I'm sure there'll be something.
Yeah.
Oh, what-y?
Oh, I think it's like a fancy name for a restaurant.
Oh, okay.
Maybe we could get some cacio e pepe. Nice and simple.
Pepe? Pepe, who's that?
Pepper.
Oh, right.
Cheese and pepper. It's cheese and pepper and pasta.
Sure, okay. Well, why don't we try and find a place that sort of caters to all our tastes, you know?
Hey, what about that place? That looks quite nice.
Yeah, let's go and check it out. Hey, say, Rob, you were asking about my map. Why don't you take a look at this?
Oh, yes. Fantastic.
This might have a few good places marked on it. And he just sort of hands it over and then starts striding over towards the arches. And by this point, it's quite busy in the piazza. There's quite a few different groups of people bustling around. A few tourists, a few sort of groups of people in religious garb, various different sort of religious outfits, and a couple of security forces. Anyway, and you make your way up the steps on the other side of the piazza where there's a little row of restaurants. And yeah, I don't know whether you're looking for something in particular.
I think, anything that sort of looks like it's some locals eating there. That's
always a good sign.
Maybe I lean over to Sharon and I say, always good to see where the locals are eating. If it's popular, then it's probably good.
No, that is right. That's right. Let's go where the locals are going.
Let's do as the Romans do, eh?
Exactly. Yes. Well said.
Great. There's sort of two restaurants right next to each other, and there's one that looks very busy, but it looks like maybe there's a few tourists there, and then one that's actually quite quiet, but it does look like the people eating there are local.
Mm. Ooh.
Older, you would say.
Ooh, look, they look like they probably aren't communists or fascists. They just look like people eating. Why don't we try there?
Il tradizione, as they say.
Oh, tradizione. I love it, Robert.
It looks like They'll have a table for all of us, I think, in that one there. There'll be lots of...
And also, yes, we could all sit together then.
Exactly, yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'd like to talk a little more about that San Stefano. What an unusual church.
Yeah, it was... I've not seen anything like that before.
So neither have I.
Gave me the creeps.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's certainly unusual to find somewhere that covers such a wide range of periods, right?
Exactly, yes.
Is this suit you, Julia, this place? Oh, anywhere where I can just get a cold drink, to be honest. I just need to sit down in the shade.
Why don't you fuck off back to bed, Julia?
Now, I think we're all tired. We all need to just calm down, sit down.
Cut that.
Oh, dear.
Couldn't resist.
So you take a table outside this restaurant?
Yeah.
If it's shaded, yeah, because we don't want to put her in the heat.
Yeah, if it's shaded.
Under the portico.
And to be honest, that would be nice, right? It is May, so it's going to be warm, right?
Under the sun lamps. Let's get these heaters on. Where's the button? There it is. Lovely.
So you sit down and you're waiting quite a while before the waiter comes over. You see him sort of looking at you, but perhaps ignoring you.
Oh, I never know what to do in these foreign places. In Paris, you go in a cafe and you try and order a drink, they tell you to sit down.
Oh, leave it to me. Good thinking. Garçon, senor.
Bloody hell.
Unable to ignore you now, he wanders over and he says, "Prego."
Say scusi.
Parla inglese.
A little.
Thank goodness. We'd love to order the dish of the day, something simple like cheese and peppers.
And bread. Some bread, please. What's that, pan?
Si, pane.
Pane, por favor.
Is that right, Robert?
I don't know. I don't speak a bloody word of the stuff.
Oh, you were so good with tradizione.
Oh, we'll pick up bits and bobs.
Don says, "Listen, I'm happy to deal with it.
Parlo and poco, but yes, you should.
I'll deal with it." And he sort of rattles off a bit of Italian to the waiter.
I hate this guy.
And the waiter
Isn't he clever?
sort of smiles at him.
And handsome.
And then he
I overact, impressed.
takes one step towards the stand where the menus are and then turns back and sort of looks at you all. And maybe you could all give me a psychology roll.
Maybe we could.
Maybe you could.
What's this, psychology?
Psychology.
I'm very psychological.
Oh, it's a very exciting pass. A 16 on a 50.
Nice rolling.
Oh, a hard success.
Ooh, that doesn't look great, but is it?
I'm on a hard as well, if you pardon the expression.
I failed remarkably, given my abilities.
I think it's probably just where you're sat. Maybe you have your back to him. If the two of you who got your hard successes, you think that when he glances back at you, it looks like he's looking very deliberately at your hands.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Yeah, it's weird, but it's not like any sort of sinister look. It's just glancing, just to maybe as if he wants to check whether you're wearing any jewelry, for example.
Oh, okay.
It's that kind of look, a little appraisal.
Okay.
But anyway, he does that briefly, picks up a couple of menus and brings them back and says, "English menus," and smiles.
Grazie mille.
Grazie mille.
Cheers, ears.
And I think you can find what you're looking for on the menu, some sort of light bit of bread, cheese, selection of antipasti or whatever. Julia says, just something light for me, please.
And some chips.
And whole onion.
Is that a Stevenage specialty?
Yep, we eat whole onions in Stevenage.
It's called a Stevenage apple.
Yeah, it's called exactly. If the apples fail, the onions never do.
It's an interesting turn of phrase, eh? I ain't heard that one.
Stevenage apple pie, delicious. Stevenage toffee apples, wonderful stuff. Toffee around an onion.
Oh, fucking hell. Jesus.
God.
Kids love it at Halloween.
The waiter comes back and Don sort of rattles off the order. He orders, bread and cheese and meat and a pickled onion wrapped in toffee.
Esquisito.
Orders like aperitif spritzes for all of you, and just a sparkling water for Julia. And the waiter goes away and starts making it.
When he came and got the menus, did you see how he looked at our hands on the table a bit? Did it?
Oh, you saw that too, Sharon? Yes, I did notice that. Robert, did you see that?
No, I can't say I was paying attention. I was trying to get the heater to work.
Well, quite right too. Although, I mean, it is as hot as a Brazilian's bikini line out here normally. I don't know why you'd be bothering with that.
Oh, Nicholas.
Whatever he was looking for, I don't think he saw it because he seemed sort of not relieved, but, you know, he didn't find what he was looking for. So what?
Does Sharon wear a wedding ring?
She still does have her wedding ring on, yes.
No, I was wondering if he was looking at your ring, but then he studied my hands just as carefully. And yours, Robert, I thought.
Oh.
And yours too, I point out, Julia.
And didn't see what he was looking for, I felt.
Yes, I agree.
I might actually interrupt you there and correct you. I think specifically you noticed him looking at the men's hands.
Oh.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
And you too, Don.
I do have big hands like a man.
He was looking at my hands, and Don looks at his own hands.
Yeah.
I lean over to Robert, and I don't... It's not a whisper. It is actually public. And I go, and so the American begins to realise he has studied.
You what?
Oh, don't worry. I wonder why. Well, maybe it's a thing.
Well, I'm looking around. Can I do a spot hidden roll? I'm wondering if Sharon looks around at the local punters to see if they have anything distinguishing about their...
Oh, good thinking.
Their fingerwear.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, if you're specifically looking for that. So are you looking at the people, sort of just anyone around, or specifically the people, like, on the next table or whatever?
Yeah, I think a couple of old gents on the next table and maybe a gent at the bar who's lifting a glass of wine to his lips.
Great. Sure.
Oh, yeah, it's a 14 on a 45.
Oh, wow. Okay, a hard success. So, yeah, they've all got something in common. It seems to me that everyone you can see in this restaurant is wearing a signet ring.
OMG.
As I lean over and she notices that, I say to Don, you don't think it's like some sort of code thing? Like, if you're a communist or a fascist, you have something tattooed on your hand or something?
I don't know. Listen, I think, from what I understand about political leanings, it would be very unwise for people to bear a tattoo that expose their allegiances
to
this climate.
Yes.
Signet rings back home. That's that's posh, isn't it? You wear them if you're posh.
Signet rings?
What are you on about?
Signet rings?
Yeah, like gold signet rings. Like
Signet rings? What signet rings?
look around. Look at the old boys on the next table. Don't look at the same time. Take turns.
Don't look now.
Don't look now.
Cool, blimey. They're Masons. They're going to be Masons, aren't they?
Well, something like that. Something
This is like a Masonic canteen.
like a club. Are we in a clubhouse?
Casina de Masonico? No, that sounds wrong.
Who's she?
Masons? Yeah. I've read something about the Masons in Italy. I can't remember what.
Maybe they get discounts.
Masons are all over the world, mate.
Oh, yes, they do. Yeah, they are, of course.
It's a lot in Stevenage.
Well, I mean, obviously, it stems from Rosicrucianism, doesn't it?
Well, there's also all that stuff about the Illuminati.
I wouldn't know about that.
I wouldn't know about that, but...
So that's Italian. You can tell because it's got an it on the end.
Now I think about it, something's coming back to me, or is it? I'm not sure. But if I roll my history, Daniel...
Sure.
Keeper of the Basilica de San Luca. Prior, I beg your pardon, Signor.
Please do.
Prior of the Basilica de San Luca. My history is considerably better than Joseph's, so here we go. Guys, it's an 85 on a 75.
Oh, well, that feels like that's pushing territory. What is it? Well, what is it you're...
I pick up a knife and I tap it on my fingers and I say, I tell you what, I'm going to get a closer look. If I'm not back in 5 minutes, send Julia to look for me. And I get up and I stroll past over to... Is there a bar area or like...
Yeah. In the back of the restaurant. There's a bar.
Yeah. So I'll stroll into the restaurant, but kind of careering dangerously close to a table as I do. I think maybe taking my hat off and wafting my face as if it's the heat. My intention is to ask after the bathroom.
Of course.
So that's my ruse, and I'm going to push my history, although maybe I feel like I might be trying to do something else now, but...
Spot hidden?
Spot hidden, shall I...
Well, although it's your history you want to be racking your brains for, right?
Yeah, but if I can get a closer look at it, maybe I might... So I'll go spot hidden, partly because I've done a ridiculous thing, which is Joseph's silly fault.
Well, how good is your spot hidden?
My spot hidden is 60.
I would take your history if you can.
If you'll give me the history, I'll take it. Let's do it.
We can make the history work.
Let's work the mechanics and let the drama speak for itself. 54 is a double pass for both.
Right. Okay. So what specifically is it that you're racking your brains to?
Well, they've said Masonic, and I like where they're going with that. But Masonic signet rings, or I mean, there's also like Rosicrucianism, Templars.
Okay. So as you
I'm looking for markings, maybe on the ring or something.
Yeah. Well, as you get up and you turn to enter the restaurant to look for the bathroom, you only take a couple of steps, and you're struck by a very small carving in the stone above the doorway of the restaurant. A little symbol, and it is like a ruler that bends in half, and then a pair of compasses laid on top of it.
Oh yes.
Sort of looks like two triangles. Classic Masonic symbol.
Yeah.
But you notice that it's been sort of scratched away, as if it was once bold and proud, and now it's been scratched out. And you remember reading, perhaps maybe someone told you, I imagine the circles you move in back home, perhaps you know people who are Masons. And you remember hearing that the Masonic Lodge Propaganda Due was excommunicated by the Masons really quite recently for having sort of being involved too heavily with the mafia, amongst other things. So Propaganda Due, if it still exists, is now an underground organization. It's no longer sort of publicly out and proud Masons. There are other Masonic lodges in Italy, but this is the one that is had quite a lot of power until very recently.
Right. So it is Propaganda Due that would make sense with them carving out, scratching out the.
That's your assumption.
I'm applying that.
The lodges don't have their own symbols. There is like one Masonic symbol.
It's a sort of Propaganda Due is the underground lodge, and this could be it.
Quite, yeah.
In which case, I think I'll still use the bathroom.
Okay. Well, you go through into the restaurant, and the waiter sort of stands as if he stands kind of in your way as you're coming towards him. Si, prego?
Si, signor. Devo andare a WC.
Bathroom?
Non lo so la parola. Si.
Next door.
Ah, ma grazie.
You can use next door.
Si. Thank you. Very kind.
And he sort of ushers you back out of the restaurant.
In which case I shall head down to the table. I mean, is it obvious that I haven't used it? Well, I can go round. So I think I go round and I deliver the news, and I lean into the others and I say, "Oh, how interesting! Not only was I turned away from the interior, etc., but also that does bring to mind. Look above there. Looks like there's a sort of Masonic marking. The cartographer's arms, classic for the Masonic lodges, have been carved out. I've read about this place, this lodge or association called Propaganda Due. I wonder if it's that. Anyway.
How loudly are you speaking when you say that?
Oh, it's for once I am actually just trying to whisper that to, I mean, maybe not even to Don and Julia. It's to my side of the table.
Okay.
Given that reaction, perhaps I start speaking, and then maybe I.
How good is your stealth? Or maybe I won't be too unfair. Maybe I'll just No. Do you know what? I'll do something else instead.
No, I think. But I mean, like, he's a gossip, but he's not stupid.
Maybe someone on the next table just has a little listen. Maybe that's what happens.
Opposed roll, R2 stealth? Because to be honest, Dan, I was saying it so that the other two knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, fair enough. He is a gossip. And maybe he does need a lesson in taking it slightly more seriously. So yeah. I'm down with that.
I won't make it opposed, unless what's better for you, I suppose, is it? How good is your stealth?
I've got stealth 42.
Okay.
A lot of creeping around in offices, trying to get pieces of paper.
Well, yeah, why not make it opposed then? I'll roll my listen. The people on the next table are very old, so you might be all right.
I rolled a 50 on a 42. It's persistently high. That's my lowest roll of the night.
Well, you're fine, because I've rolled a very bad roll, so you are speaking quietly enough that the people on the next table didn't hear what you were saying, luckily.
Yes! I'll go and use the toilet anyway. Perhaps I sort of drop into a really soft voice right at the end and go, I better make this look good. And I wander over to next door.
Propaganda do, eh? Yeah, that's familiar. But well, I guess maybe that's why he looked at us a bit funny. Maybe, I guess maybe we ought to finish up here sooner rather than later.
Yeah, maybe we've stumbled into some club's private luncheon HQ.
Yeah, we potentially outstayed our welcome. Yeah.
The waiter brings over the food and says, "Prego," and then sort of wanders back in. And as the food arrives, Julia says, "Don, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry, all of you, but I'm just going to have a lie down. I think don't know whether it's the heat or all this travel, but I actually can't face lunch." Don says, "You want me to walk you back to the house? I'll come. It's only over there." He said, No, don't be ridiculous. I'll be fine. We can virtually see the door." And you look out and you can pretty much see the door of Casa Petronio. You know, apart from the fact that the square is quite crowded now, you could almost see her walk all the way to the door. Don says, "Well, if you're sure, I'll come and check on you as soon as we finished." "Of course, I'll be totally fine. I just need to lie down. Enjoy your lunch. Don't rush back. You should enjoy the day. I don't want you to waste an afternoon. I'll be fine. I just need to lie down."
I'm back at this stage, yeah?
Yeah.
I do dramatic raised eyebrows to Sharon, and I think I can't resist. I think I say, maybe stayed up a little too late.
Well, maybe.
Up all night.
Maybe a touch of the honeymoon sickness, if you know what I mean.
Oh.
Yes.
Is this all being said out loud?
Yes, at a low volume.
She goes puce and says, "Excuse me, I just need to lie down." And she goes down the steps, and you sort of watch her move across the square, and she's almost at the door, but you know she's kind of lost in the crowd before she quite makes it. Don says she'll be fine. We've been traveling around quite a lot, and the heat is really the weather's really changed. We were in Milan last week, and wasn't nearly so hot. I think she'll be fine. She just needs some time.
Oh, Milan is so lovely.
Isn't it just?
Yes. The people, they're so charming and friendly and fashionable.
Very much so.
But I'm sorry, that was callous of me. I'm sorry. Apologies. It's so nice to see two people in love, you know?
Yeah, sure. Well, you know, we're all progressive.
I mean, it brought out a wickedness in me. I apologise.
If she does have a touch of the honeymoon sickness, Don, tell her to come and see me. I do know some remedies. I know a thing or two about a thing or two.
The honeymoon sickness, eh?
Well, if we didn't have to leave in a hurry, I'd propose another bottle of wine. But yes, we should probably not toast any further. And
no, I think we should just finish our drinks and maybe get out of here before we upset anyone with our presence.
Oh, indeed, Robert, don't you agree?
Good idea. I do agree.
Oh, thank goodness. Are
there any other women apart from myself now inside the restaurant, or is it all men? I'm just thinking about Masons, because that's all. That's a sausage party, isn't it?
Certainly is. Like RPGs.
There are some women. It's mainly men. It's not particularly busy, this restaurant. There's people on, maybe 4 or 5 tables, mainly men, but there are a couple of women. But you notice they're all older.
All the patrons, or just the women?
All of the patrons really are. They're quite old.
All the patrons are a bit older. How old would you say? 60s? To look at?
200.
It's hard to say, actually. I mean, how much are you studying them?
I think I'm having a jolly good look.
They're dead.
They're the living dead.
It's kind of hard to tell exactly how old they are, because a lot of them look quite weathered, you know? They're not glamorous older people.
Okay. And there's not a single young person in the bar?
The waiter was quite young.
But in an official capacity, interesting. Good spot.
Ooh, did the waiter have a signet ring?
I'm not sure you were looking, but maybe you do when...
Can I do a spot hidden as he's walking about? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. As he comes back to...
Well, I was going to say we should ask for the bill, shouldn't we?
Sure.
Il Conto?
That's right, yeah. Il Canto, Don calls, and The waiter sort of gets it together and brings it over, and as he puts down the bill on the table, you can give me a spot hidden.
All of us?
Well, yeah, I suppose if you're all looking for it, yeah.
That's a fail.
Well, I'll definitely have a look at the bill.
I'm too busy showing off about knowing the word il conto with my 12% Italian.
I've rolled 100.
I was going to say, maybe you could push the roll, Jeany, but I mean, why bother now when clearly whatever's about to happen is about to happen?
So the price is so extraordinary, I have a sanity roll. What the fuck is this?
That's Mason's prices for you.
How much for some bread and a bit of fish?
He puts the bill down with... Which hand do you normally wear a signet ring on?
Right hand.
Your right hand. So he puts the bill down with his left hand, so none of you can see whether or not he's wearing a signet ring.
Doesn't stop Robert doing this, though. Give me your hand.
Yeah, how do you think it goes wrong?
The only thing I can think is that I'm trying to look at his hand, the other hand, and in the process I sort of lean my chair back too far.
I like it.
Completely fall over, kicking the table over in the process.
Oh, Christ.
I'm going to try and flip a table in every scenario in this season.
Oh my word!
Yeah, I love it. So you
Make a right mess, everything smashes.
you're sort of sliding back in your chair to try and have a look, and then you topple back
Oh!
on your two legs exactly and land flat on your back as your head hits the concrete really quite hard.
Ooh.
I'm gonna say you take 1 hit point of damage.
God, no, not the last of the shrimps. Not the last of the shrimps. I lunge for them.
As my feet go up, it flips the table, right? So everything's smashed on the floor. I've made a right scene, yeah.
Everything goes flying.
So much for the low profile.
Well, quite.
What was it, 1 hit point?
1 hit point. And everyone turns to look at you. You have made your presence abundantly clear to everyone in the restaurant. So a few people in the next restaurant in the square.
God alive, this is like Oliver Courtney de Quincey's Othello. A total embarrassment. No, cut that, that's offensive. God alive, this is like Oliver Courtney de Quincey's Richard III. A total embarrassment. Get off the stage, everyone, all of you, let's go.
I'm sorry, everyone. Scusi.
One of the older gentlemen at the next table says, "Are you all right? Would you like some ice for your head? You look like you hurt yourself quite badly there."
Robert?
Where am I?
Yeah, maybe we should... Could we bring him inside?
Mi dispiace, see, some ice would be lovely. That's so kind.
Oh, he's bleeding. I think he's bleeding a bit. We should... could we bring him inside?
We will... Maybe we have a good look at him here before we take him inside.
Well, I mean, he's hit his head on the floor.
He snaps his finger and asks the waiter for some ice. He says, maybe you're right. What do you think, sir? Can you stand? Can you talk?
Yes, I'll be all right, thank you. Just give me a hand up, would you? Oh, gosh.
And he does. This older man sort of gives you a hand up.
Can I do a charm roll?
Yes, by all means.
Can I do a sleight of hand roll to try and take his signet ring off?
Oh.
I think I see these two suddenly moving in a way that I wasn't expecting them to move. There's a sort of well-oiled... It reminds me of, actually, an Oliver Courtney de Quincey film that I saw where he was playing a special agent between the wars, and he was gathering intelligence on the Nazi threat. And unusual part for him. He didn't normally play that sort of... But he was a bumbling idiot, and he got killed in it.
Classic de Quincey.
But it was a masterpiece performance of showing that you're a special agent up to an ulterior motive, but at the same time looking like an ordinary person. And I look at the two of them and I think, there's something going on here where they're really keen to get inside. And I say, oh yes, I think that's probably right, because Robert, your condition... we don't want any trouble with that. It's probably best that we get you indoors.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I say.
So what happened with the two other rolls?
I got a hard success on the charm. 5 on a 50.
Okay, and Robert, how did you get on with your sleight of hand?
I'm saying, no, I don't need to go inside. The fresh air is good enough for me. As I reach up and take his hand so he can pulls me up, and I roll a 2.
Wow.
Making good on his fumble.
Bossing it like a boss.
slip it off his finger onto my own.
Buzzing it like a bus.
Absolutely fantastic. So I think a combination of the charm from Sharon. Were you rolling anything, Nicholas, or were you just reflecting?
Chattering on.
I can roll my acting.
It sounded like acting or maybe fast talk.
It's an 11 on a 33. So the team...
This is astonishing. I mean, any one of these would have been enough, but I think the combination of Sharon's charm, Nicholas de Vere's distraction, and the extraordinary roll from Robert Hyde. I mean, slipping off someone's signet ring, an old man's signet ring that is like probably right stuck behind his arthritic bone, but somehow you've managed it.
The buttery grasp.
Yes.
And he says, "Oh well, I'm pleased to see you're not feeling the ill effects. You do look like you're bleeding there. Maybe you should see if you can see a nurse or maybe even a priest."
Oh, very, very droll.
I hope the rest of your day improves. And he sort of smiles at you and nods, sits back down.
Come si dice droll in Italian. Anyone?
No, I don't know that one. To be honest, I don't even think I know what droll means in American.
I'm not sure what I know it means in English. All right, well, let's get you out of the heat, shall we, Robert?
Yes.
Yeah, and we ought to go and... mind if I go ahead? Just see how Julia's getting on?
Please.
Yes, we're dropping like flies.
Of course. I'll have a cold glass of water, but then I really don't need any more fuss.
All right. Well, maybe we should all just head back, check on Julia, and regroup, and then if she's feeling okay, if you're feeling better, maybe we can pop out and see one of the other churches, one that's maybe got less macabre carvings.
Fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
He strides ahead towards the house, and he gets there sort of 30 seconds before you, presuming you're all sort of following him across the piazza.
Well, I say that was thrilling. That was thrilling.
Robert, do you share with anyone what you've just done?
Not immediately.
Didn't think you'd want to, that's fine.
But I think I do say, I mean, I'm not wrong in thinking, you think they're up to something, don't you? I say to them both in a sort of trying to enlist them. I enlist you. Transitive verb.
Oh, yeah, they're all...
Do you want me to roll my acting again? Or maybe I can keep my 11 for that.
They're as bent as a butcher's hook.
How absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, I've got a theory that they're, what was my theory? It just popped in my head and it popped right back out again.
That blow to the head might have been more serious than you thought, Robert.
Yeah, I think it has had an effect, actually.
Maybe we need a Campari and soda back at base.
I'd appreciate one of those.
Yeah, good idea.
A stiff drink and a cold compress and we'll all be right as rain.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
And as you open the door, Don is running down the stairs saying, "Julia, she's not there. I don't know where she is. She's not in her room. She's gone, or she's... I don't know where she is. Julia, Niccolo!"